Welcome to this explainer. You know, when a lot of people hear the words data analysis, they instantly freeze up. They picture complex math, literally endless spreadsheets, and some super intimidating code. But hey, let's see if we can totally demystify that today. Because here's the secret. Data analysis isn't really just about crunching numbers. At its core, it's fundamentally about problem solving. It's the connective tissue between raw, messy, real-world information and making incredibly smart, evidence-based business decisions. So, today, we're going to walk through the foundational steps that transform raw data into a compelling story that actually sparks action.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, defining the core problem. Second, collecting and cleaning data. Third, the 4 types of analysis. Fourth, visualizing your results. And finally, number 5, telling the data story. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Defining the core problem.
We absolutely have to start here, because finding the right answer literally requires asking the right question first, right? Without a clear objective, any analysis you do might be technically correct, but it's going to be strategically useless. To see how this plays out in practice, let's imagine a fictional company. Let's call them Top Notch Learning. They build custom training software. Now, let's say they're crushing it at getting new clients, but they are just terrible at getting repeat business. So senior management comes to you and poses a surface-level question: why are we losing customers? Now, while that seems straightforward enough, it's actually way too broad. It doesn't get to the core of the issue, and it doesn't help us test a specific hypothesis.
So as a data analyst, your job is to dig a little deeper. You want to pivot to a much more actionable question. Something like, which factors are negatively impacting the customer experience? Or, even better, how can we boost customer retention while minimizing costs? Framing the problem this way is a total game changer because it actually lets you test a hypothesis. Like maybe you want to see if a clunky production process is ruining an otherwise slick sales pipeline.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, collecting and cleaning data.
Okay, once we've nailed down our objective, we transition to the heavy lifting phase. This is where we gather the necessary materials. But first, we need to know what we're actually collecting, right? We generally deal with 2 main types of data. On one side, we have quantitative data. This is your strictly numeric information, stuff you can count or measure. Think sales figures, monthly reports, website visitors, that kind of thing. Then, on the other side, we have qualitative data. This is your descriptive, text-based information. We're talking customer reviews, interview transcripts, or survey comments. A really solid analysis usually balances both of these to give you the complete picture.
So where exactly does all this data come from? Well, the most reliable place to start is first-party data. This is the information that you or your company has directly collected from your audience. Think of your customer relationship management system, your CRM, or transactional tracking data. Because you collected this directly, it's usually highly structured, clear, and just incredibly reliable.
But listen, even with great sources, raw data is notoriously messy. I absolutely love this quote. Analyzing the data set is like sorting a giant box of mixed-up puzzle pieces. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed staring at a massive spreadsheet, this analogy completely normalizes that feeling. I mean, you can't just shove puzzle pieces together. You have to sort them all out first. And in our world, that sorting process is called data cleaning.
And here's a wild industry secret that surprises almost everyone. Ready? Analysts spend anywhere from 60 to 80% of their entire project time just cleaning and preparing data. Yep, 80%. The vast majority of the work happens way before the exciting analysis even begins. Real-world data is messy, and prepping it is literally the most crucial step in the whole shebang.
So what does that 80% actually look like in practice? Well, you'll be removing major errors and duplicate records that could totally skew your results. You'll be extracting irrelevant observations that just have nothing to do with your core question. You'll spend time fixing typos and layout issues so your software can actually, read the data. And finally, you'll be figuring out how to fill in major missing gaps. Whatever you do, do not rush this part. Analyzing the wrong data will severely impact your results and send you right back to square one.
Which brings us to Section 3, 4 types of analysis.
Now that our data is freshly scrubbed and perfectly organized, we finally get to move into the investigation phase to extract those valuable insights. Broadly speaking, pretty much all data analysis fits into these 4 categories. Let's walk through the progression here. Descriptive analysis is your baseline. It simply answers the question, what happened? Next up is diagnostic analysis, which digs deeper to answer, why did it happen? You are literally diagnosing the root cause here.
Then we move into forecasting with predictive analysis, asking what will happen next. And finally, the most complex of the bunch is prescriptive analysis, which boldly answers, what should we do about it?
Just to see how this builds, let's take a closer look at predictive analysis. This is where things get really interesting for businesses. By analyzing historical data, looking at those past puzzle pieces, we can actually forecast future trends. Whether it's forecasting next quarter's sales growth or predicting exactly which customers might cancel their subscriptions, predictive analysis uses the past to illuminate the future.
Next up, Section 4, visualizing your results. Okay, so you've done the math. You've found the brilliant insights. But here's the thing. Raw numbers on a spreadsheet just aren't enough. We have to translate our findings into a visual format that our specific audience can actually understand and use. And honestly, if you take nothing else away from this section, please remember this golden rule. Visuals clarify, not decorate. I know it is so tempting to use every single color, 3D effect, and fancy label your software offers. Just don't do it. Every extra color or chart that doesn't add immediate value is just a distraction. Your goal is to strip away the noise so your main insight shines through instantly.
To pull that off, you really have to match the structure of your data to the correct chart. As a quick rule of thumb, use bar charts for trends over time and line graphs for continuous changes. And please, only use pie charts when you're specifically showing parts of a whole. Also, always keep your audience in mind. Use simple, clean charts for beginners or general management, and maybe save those highly complex, multi-layered visuals for your technical experts.
All right, moving into Section 5, telling the data story.
We're in the final phase now. We have our clean data, we have our visuals, but now we must structure a narrative. Because let's face it, data itself doesn't change businesses, stories do. We have to ensure our insights actually lead to real-world action. And the foundation of literally any good story is this: start with context. If you just throw a complicated chart on a screen, your audience will be completely lost. You have to connect the raw data to the real-world background. Remind them, what was the business challenge? What specific question were we trying to answer? Context makes complex information so much easier to interpret, and it gives your audience a reason to actually care about the numbers you're about to show them. To successfully guide your audience from facts to meaning to action, you can lean on some proven storytelling frameworks. The Data Insight Action Framework is incredibly direct and easy to use. You simply present the data, explain the insight it reveals, and then recommend a specific business action. Alternatively, there's the SOAR framework, which is fantastic for strategic planning. That stands for Analyze the Situation, Set Your Objectives, Define Your Actions, and Plan How to Measure the Results. Both of these frameworks give you a fantastic toolkit to ensure your presentation actually drives real decision-making. Okay, let's pull all of this together. When you're just starting out, the data analysis process usually looks incredibly linear. You start with a purpose, you ask a question, collect your data, analyze it, interpret the findings, and finally, you write a report. It has a very clear start and a clear finish line, which, to be fair, is a great way to learn the ropes.
But here is the true expert's mindset. As you grow more comfortable with the data, you start to realize that data analysis actually looks more like a cyclical model. It's a highly dynamic, iterative feedback loop. What happens is, when you interpret your results, it almost always leads you to ask brand new, much better questions, which then sends you right back to collecting new data. The process doesn't really end, it evolves, continuously driving the business forward.
So, we've taken the mystery out of the data lifecycle today, from defining that core problem and cleaning up the mess, to forecasting trends and telling a story that actually drives action. The cycle never really ends, it just evolves. So take a look around your own organization. The puzzle pieces are out there, just waiting to be sorted. What business problem will you analyze first? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.